So I'm delighted to welcome everyone back. For those of you who were here with us in this room in 2018, I'm going to do a real quick introduction because we really want to hear mainly from Dean Matthew, who will welcome you on behalf of the George Washington University Law School. We are very appreciative, obviously, of our sponsors, the George Washington University Law School. You'll hear from the Dean in a moment. The Environmental Law Institute, and also the GW Environmental and Energy Management Institute. Things have changed, in my view, quite radically since we were here in 2018. Not only have we had COVID, but there are more security measures now. We have masking issues, and I am so pleased, though, that we're coming out of this period. And so many of you today have come from distance, California, Washington State. And so those of you near and far, we're very, very pleased that you're here today. We're still waiting for some people to come into this room. There are about 100 people who are participating both online and in this room. I will do a quick agenda review following the Dean's comments, but there also are a few housekeeping issues, which I think I'll do after the Dean, so that we can get to the business of the law school. And those participating by Zoom, I would just ask you to absolutely keep your video and your mics off. And I think that's the only urgent thing that I need to discuss at the moment. This is the 13th Natural Resources Symposium that we've held. The group was founded nearly 35 years ago. If you'd asked me originally, I think Jim Beakey is the only one in the room who I probably was talking to in those days. Everyone else is new since that time. But I am one of the people in the United States who is the longest surviving relative to natural resource damage regimes. At any rate, the thing that I think stands out, though, about the group are our partnerships. We have had wonderful partnerships with one of the agencies, with academia, etc. So, and also we've been fortunate to work with some terrific companies, one of which you'll hear in a few minutes from Roger Martella from GE. So I'll like to say a few words about the Dean. Dean Dana Bowen Matthew is Dean of the George Washington University Law School and the Harold H. Green Professor of Law. She's a nationally recognized lawyer and legal scholar with decades of academic and also industry experience. She's the first woman to head the law school. She is now working with scholars across George Washington University to establish the Equity Institute initiative, which I find very interesting, creating university-wide research to support advances in racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic equality globally and in the United States. And boy, do we need that. I want to hear more about that offline if we can. Dean Matthews held a number of important positions in the policy world, and we will actually post her full bio on our website. She serves on several health boards. She's a prolific author. She's the author of the best-selling book, Just Medicine, A Cure for Racial Inequality in American Healthcare, and a newly released book, Just Health, Treating Structural Racism to Heal America. And she's the co-author also of a case book on public law, ethics, and policy. So her BA is from Harvard. I'm also a Harvard grad. So and she also has a JD from the University of Virginia and a PhD in health and behavioral sciences from the University of Colorado, Denver. So she is not only educationally well qualified, but qualified in every other way to lead the law school. I'll give you the name.
Wow, what a warm welcome, I have to say. If we could sort of record that and let my kids hear it, that would be great. They don't have the due amount of respect. I would say that it's interesting you said that I have to get back to the business of the law school. This is the business of the law school. I understand the mission of higher education to produce knowledge and to support those who implement that knowledge to make society better. And that's what you guys are doing in this conference and symposium. So I appreciate very much that you're here and allow me to welcome you. Now, so what they told me to say, however, was good morning. I am Dana Bowen Matthew. No, I have to tell you, the natural resources at the crossroads title is really intriguing to me. This law school just went through a strategic planning process, and our vision statement, though way too long, we are lawyers after all, ends with a phrase that captures what you're doing here, which is, at the crossroads, we say we are equipping students to deal with some of the most pressing issues of our time. Not just to deal with them, but to create solutions, right? That's what we're doing. We're equipping people to create solutions to some of the most pressing issues of our time. And as you'll hear at the end of my remarks, I do believe that the pressing issues of our time that you will be dealing with are perhaps the most important that we face in our world today. I'd like to begin, however, by extending a very warm welcome to the Ad Hoc Industry Natural Resources Management Group and the Environmental Law Institute, and to the many distinguished panelists who have assembled here at GW for this critical discussion. We are proud to host you at our law school. In the past, or for the past century, GW Law has been at the forefront of the environmental law education industry, if you will. Our program was established at the beginning of the modern environmental law era and continues to expand to provide the next generation of environmental and energy lawyers with the tools that they need to tackle the local, national, and international challenges facing the planet and its inhabitants. This summer, we were delighted to be able to welcome Randy Abad to the GW Law community as our new Assistant Dean for Environmental Law Studies. We really love that. Thank you for being with us, Randy, and you are allowed to go nowhere. This is the rest of your career. Thank you for being here. Among its many decades of accomplishments as an environmental law expert, Dean Abate has published 6 books and more than 30 law journal articles and book chapters. I know that you'll enjoy hearing from him this afternoon. We couldn't be more thrilled to have Dean Abate at the helm of our environmental law program. I'm also very pleased to announce that just this month, our law school recognized the stellar leadership of Donna Atanasio by naming her an assistant dean for energy law. She oversees our energy law program and sustainable energy initiative. Our environmental law, energy law program is in great hands under the co-direction of Assistant Deans Abate and Atanasio. I can't wait to see the amazing things that they will do. Another example of the intellectual and scholarly heft of our environmental and energy law program is our faculty. I hope that you have an opportunity to spend time with Professor Robert Glicksman. I call him Rob. He's the J.B. and Morris C. Shapiro Professor of Environmental Law, who is an internationally renowned expert in environmental law, natural resources, and administrative law. Rob is a prolific and highly influential scholar. His most recent work includes the groundbreaking book on reorganizing government that provides a novel framework for thinking about how to allocate regulatory or management authority among the federal, state, and local government entities. This project was more than 8 years in the making. And I want you to know that my notes come to me a couple of days ahead of the event, but they're already out of date because Rob is so prolific. About a week ago, he announced to me things that he's published that are not on this list. An example would be an update of his book, NEPA Law and Litigation, his article that just appeared in the Harvard Environmental Law Review. So if you want to keep up with Rob, you better check about every week because there's stuff coming out that's relevant and that's impactful. He is co-author on the law school casebook, Environmental Protection Law and Policy, and the 4-volume treatise, Public Natural Resources Law. He's published numerous monographs, book chapters, articles, just as I've said, on a variety of environmental law, natural resources, and administrative law issues. Rob also writes on climate change, and you'll see that that is an issue that I am very concerned with myself as I'm a health law scholar. I'm proud to share a number of our GW Law alumni who have gone on to lead in the Environmental and Energy Law Academy and in the quote unquote real world. Among the many exciting programmatic enhancements that are currently underway because of our new leadership, I'd like to highlight just a few so that you can join us if you are able. On September 27th, we're hosting a webinar called Rights-Based Climate Change. On October 12th, GW Law's Environmental and Energy Law program is teaming up with our government procurement program for a panel discussion on the Inflation Reduction Act. On April 6th and 7th, GW Law is proud to host our 2023 Shapiro Symposium with the Environmental Law Institute, the University of Oregon Environmental and Natural Resources Law Center, and the Wetlands Network as co-sponsors. In 2023, we will host a symposium to focus on improving our nation's environmental and natural resources laws to reach the Biden administration's America the Beautiful goal of conserving 30% of the nation's lands and waters by the year 2020. That's 30 by 30. Speakers and participants will include environmental law and natural resources management agency staffers, academics, and NGO partners. Please join us. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been captivated, indeed spellbound, by the photographs coming out of Pakistan that demonstrate that natural resources management to prevent and adapt to the impacts of climate change is one of the most, if not the most, pressing issues of our time. You heard in my introduction that the disproportionate impact that climate change and every other disaster in human history has on the most vulnerable populations is one of my own scholarly interests. So therefore, the title and subject of this conference, that you are at a crossroads, could not be more apt or important. I welcome you and thank you for the important and impactful work you're about to do today.
I will say that Professor Gleisman is registered for the meeting. He's running a big meeting tomorrow, and we hope to see him today. And we are very thankful to Dean Abbott to be really our key partner in trying to get this meeting launched. So thank you, welcome you. He is in the corner, and you will hear from him later today. I am actually an undergraduate graduate at George Washington University. I meant to say that. I would like to probably turn this over for 2 seconds or more to my colleague, Kara Flynn, to talk about those who are participating by Zoom and a couple of housekeeping issues. And then I will give a quick overview of the agenda. And then we will hear from our first speaker at 9:30. So how does that sound?
Good morning, everyone. For those in the room that are trying to connect to the internet, the Wi-Fi is GW Connect, and you have to register as a user. You'll enter some information. It'll be sent a temporary username and passcode. So for those of you who are looking to get online here. And then for those of you that are on Zoom, we want this to be an interactive discussion today and tomorrow, both for those in the room and on Zoom. So when we do open it up to the conversation and discussion with participants, we just ask that if you'd like to contribute, that you use the Zoom raise your hand function, or alternatively, you can put a question or make a note in the chat and be happy to include you in the conversation. For those that are speaking remotely, we ask that you use your video, turn your video on and unmute when you're speaking, so we want to see your faces. And I will be progressing slides as appropriate. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me via the chat, or you can text me at my cell phone, which is 330-324-5949 if there's any remote issues. Thanks so much.
Kara has been my rock in trying to in planning this meeting. So we've seen quite a lot, obviously, of which has been alluded to by the dean. We have a ambitious agenda. We have a timely agenda. Annie Gibbs is in the room, and she has made a very major point in the group about the need to prepare the next generation. And so it's very appropriate that we're here at the law school, but the world does not run on lawyers alone, if you can imagine that. But training in the next generation and bridging the gap with the next generation is one of the subtopics that the group is actually involved in through its standing committee, which includes 5 federal government agencies and tribal and state representatives. We're going to hear on 3 major issues on the agenda a little bit later. I think you can all read the agenda. We've given hard copies of the agenda here. There are bios and pictures of speakers online at the website. I think we sent everyone a note yesterday about the meeting materials, which are currently password protected for registrants. And those include 3 framework documents and 3 case study application documents. And if anyone didn't receive that or needs that information, we can back up. We have a terrific set of speakers, bar none. We're going to hear an opening address in a few minutes by Roger Martella, calling in from Paris, which is one of my favorite places in the world and where I lived actually very early in my career and worked at OECD. Then we're going to hear from Juliet Elperin, who has a wonderful way about her in writing and orally, so can't wait to hear from her. And our panels of experts, I sometimes, our plenary session, which will be led by Jordan Diamond, I talk about the view from Olympus, because before we can get into kind of the grass, if you will, the details in the trenches, we have to put it in context to be able to look at what's happening globally. The group has a very active European program, and we also, our purview is global, although many of the topics of this conference, this particular symposium, are more US oriented relative to US laws, but has major implication globally. And we're seeing increasingly synergies between US practice and not only European practice, but globally. We're going to hear at lunch from 2 wonderful speakers, Scott Lundgren of NOAA and Heidi King. Scott will tell us what is going on in the world of NOAA, which is a fantastic agency, as most of you know. Heidi will talk about what we're seeing on the regulatory arena, because that's changed too. And so much is being done outside of regulation these days. And that's a huge change from when I started. And then this afternoon, we'll look at 2 of our best practice frameworks, one focused on remediation and restoration and one on PFAS. And then we'll close the day. Randy Dienabot and I will close the day with a few observations and a preview of tomorrow's program. So in a moment, I will introduce Roger Martella, who I assume is on. But I wanted to ask Tara, is there anything that I did not cover that I should? We're asking, no recordings, no, we are doing one global recording of this meeting, but no, okay.